Hey friends, Alan Lee here with Honestly Handyman Services out of Sacramento, California. And today I wanted to talk about everything that you need to know about estimating handyman jobs. So the first thing I would say for estimating handyman jobs is figuring out how you want to estimate handyman jobs. Now there is multiple different ways to do this, and really it comes back down to how you established it when you first started your business. Or maybe you didn't establish it, but now is the time to do it. So figuring out exactly how you're going to do it is a great idea because it'll definitely help you establish that in your business so people kind of know how you operate. So there's different ways to do it. I got a friend who lives a couple towns over that he does everything on an emergency basis. So his estimate also involves him doing the work. So he'll come out, take a look at it, and do the work right then and there. Now all he does is really emergency work. So that's kind of what he focuses on and all he does. For me personally, I have a set day every week and I do estimates only on that day. So if people call me up and want an estimate, and I have availability on that estimation day, I pencil them in on that day. That way I have everything set up. One day a week I do nothing but estimates and I can focus completely on that. And the rest of the days in the week I can focus completely on work. Now that works best for me, may not work best for you. That's completely fine. But figuring out what works best for you is probably the best thing to go about and do that. And also that goes with that is having clear expectations when you go and give an estimate. So that people know exactly what they're getting. So for me, since I have an estimate day, one day a week, and then I schedule out, usually about a month, month and a half, sometimes 2 months, I let them know before I even schedule the estimate. Say, hey, I'm booked out, for a month, and if that works for you, then I would definitely love to come and give you an estimate. And that will weed some people out right then, because you got to remember, not everyone is your ideal customer, and don't be afraid to not work with everybody, because you don't have to. So by establishing those expectations, be like, hey, I can do the estimate now, but I won't be able to do the work for a month. Or if you do the estimate the same day that you do the work, let them know that so they know exactly what they're expecting. Because nothing is worse than if you show up to someone's house just to do an estimate and they expect you to do the work right then, and you can't do that. It's not feasible in your schedule. Then you end up losing that job. So you've lost all that time to go out there and do that estimate. So establishing clear expectations beforehand is such a smart way to go about it. The next thing I would say that is very important for doing estimates is having a clean and tidy uniform. Also connected with business cards. I always keep business cards in my shirt pocket here on my estimation days. I think it's very important to have a clean and tidy uniform with business cards. Also bring a pen and paper with you to document anything like that, a tape measure, a cell phone for pictures, or a camera, however you want to do that, because first impressions really matter. I know a lot of people don't say don't judge a book by its cover, but a lot of times that's how it works, especially when you are in a professional industry such as a handyman or contractor, things like that, is when someone sees you, the first glimpse that they get from you is really their first impression and how they're going to kind of form their conversation with you. So for me, I always try and look my best. I do my hair, I shave, I wear a clean outfit, uniform, business cards, tape measure, look professional, talk professional. Do whatever you can to present a good impression of yourself. For me, I think that pictures is one of the most important things that you can do in an estimate, and that's not really for the customers, that's for myself. When I first started doing estimates, I really didn't take very many pictures, and I really regretted it when I went back and did the estimates. And because sometimes when I do the estimates, I may not do the work for about a month or so. So it's nice the day before I do the work to look back at those pictures to see exactly what I'm doing. And if I don't have any pictures to refer to, I'm kind of ruining it for myself. For me, another thing that I live by is if you are early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late. Now, this is something I learned back when I was a kid from my brother's football coach. Is he would always say that, because I think that's so important to really establish yourself as someone who is early. I think that if you are on time or late, man, you're completely late and you're gonna ruin your first impression with the customer. I think if you if you give yourself, the only option is if you are early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late, then there's no option of being late because there's only on time. So, and I hope that makes sense to you. It does to me. Maybe my brain's a little bit weird, but that's what I do. I always try and be early to all of my estimates. And if it's really early in the morning, I'll get there like, 10 minutes beforehand or 5 minutes beforehand, but I'll wait till like 1 minute before the estimate time, and then I'll ring their doorbell or whatnot, because you obviously want to be respectful for people's privacy and things like that, but you do not want to be late. You want to make sure that you can do whatever you have to do to not be late. Another thing I would say for estimates is never be confrontational. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are rude and arrogant and have a big ego, and frankly, there's a lot of customers that are wrong, that they think they're right, but they are wrong. Now, but us as professionals, we don't need to tell them that they are wrong. We don't need to fight with anyone. We don't have anything to prove to anyone. I think a lot of times men, personally, we have a big ego. We want to prove ourselves to people, but customers are not the people to do that with, because you get in a fight with one customer, that's going to ruin your reputation for all of them, because bad news travels way faster than good news. So if you ruin a relationship with one customer, man, you're going to have it for a long time on your record. So I would say do not be confrontational. Always be nice and kind to people, even if they are so ruthless to you. I mean, even if you have to be like, sorry, I got to leave right now. Just leave. Just get out of the situation. Don't be confrontational. Don't cause a big fight. I mean, they're just customers. There's so many of them. There's more fish in the pond, as people say. Also, do not be afraid to be honest with the work that you do and also the work that you do not do. If someone presents a project to you that you don't necessarily do, or you're not comfortable with, or you don't want to do, don't be afraid to tell them that. Be like, hey, this is not my expertise. Hey, this guy down the road, he is really good at this and I would recommend him. But for me, I don't feel like I would be the best person for this job. And believe it or not, people will actually respect you a lot more if you are honest with them and tell them straight up, say, I'm not the best person for this job, and I think that you could get the value that you need from someone else better. Now, that doesn't mean to not challenge yourself and don't try and become a better person, but also be honest with your customers, because after all, we're not trying to just rake these customers over the coals and just get into their back pocket. We want to establish a good relationship with these customers, because if you establish a good, long-lasting relationship with them, they're going to be bringing you work throughout the years, and they're going to be telling all kinds of people about your work, and you're going to be overwhelmed with the amount of work that you have. And don't forget to write up your estimate in a timely manner. You don't want to leave people, waiting for an estimate for, a week or 2 weeks at a time. You want to probably get it done either that day or within the next few days. Normally what I do when I do an estimate is I'm upfront with the customer. Like if I have a lot on my plate right then, I'll be like, hey, I got a lot of estimates I'm writing up. I got a lot of big jobs coming up. So it's going to be probably about 3 days before I get you this estimate. But a lot of times I can get that estimate done that day. That's the beauty of having an estimate day, is I focus only solely on estimates that day. So I can usually bust them out that day. But if not, I usually tell them, hey, it'll be a week, a day or two, and then I'll get you the estimate, and then we'll go from there, setting up an appointment to get this work performed for you. But yeah, you don't want to leave them hanging too much. Also, the next thing about estimates is the different kind of apps that there are for estimating. There are many different apps out there. I used to use waveapps.com, and then I was told by a bunch of people in our mastermind group on Facebook. By the way, if you're not on that, you should join that. Ask me and I will link it to you in the description below. And they told me about this app called Joist. And I was kind of, I wasn't sure about Joist to begin with, but I decided to go ahead and use it. And I absolutely love Joist. Joist is my favorite now. I love it because you can use it on your cell phone. And it's so easy to attach pictures to that estimate or invoice on your cell phone, and you could send it directly from your cell phone. You can either send it through a text message or an email, different ways like that. And I really like that, having that capability to do that on your cell phone, because Wave Apps was only on your phone. So it's really nice having an application on your phone where you can quickly fill out an estimate or an invoice. So sometimes if you do work for someone and they add a few things on, you can actually add it to the invoice. I've actually done it added to my invoice in the car, and then resend it to them. And then by the time I go back in the house, they already have the invoice on their email, and then they just pay me the extra price for that. So there's really no questions left on the table about that. And that's another thing about estimating, is I personally love estimating and giving someone an estimate and then doing the work at a later date, because that way we both know exactly what we're giving and what we're taking. You know, I know exactly the work I'm doing, they know exactly how much money they are paying, there's no questions, everything is out there on the table, and at the end of the day, I do the work for them, they write me a check, and that's it. There's no questions asked, there's no arguing, there's no trying to talk me down on money or things like that. And another thing on estimates is you want to follow up in about a week. If you haven't heard back in about a week, you want to follow up with them with a nice email or a call, just, you know, reminding them that you do have the estimate out there, wondering if they took a look at it. More than likely they did take a look at it, and they might have some questions on it, but maybe they just got busy and didn't reply back to you with those questions, or maybe they want to go ahead and schedule the work, but also we're just too busy to get back to you. So there are different ways to do estimates, and I hope that I covered everything that needs to be done with an estimate. If I didn't, please feel free to comment that in the comment section below, because I know when I'm making these videos, it's kind of hard to think through that. I did create a list beforehand, but if there's anything you would like to add to the estimation process, please add in the description below. Also, like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And every Wednesday, I'm starting a new live video. So I'm going live on YouTube every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So that's California time, 6 o'clock. And I hope to see you guys there. It's going to be every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I will see you guys next Wednesday live. I'm super excited for that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a fantastic day.